Welcome to Toffee TV. It is club call time. You can give us a call if you want on Patreon. The link is there. If you want to speak to John Blaine about what is going on at Everton with this takeover, now is your chance. Now is your chance. John is all over this. He's had his fingers all over it for days. Well, he hasn't, but
I was in the States for a reason.
Well, that's it. John's been in America for the last few days, and we are booking this trip to Minneapolis.
Exactly.
Synergy. Synergy. So if you want to get your call in, please do. The link is there.
I heard them talking a bit of Polish before when I went off.
And he's got a bit of gold on him. It's all
there.
It's all making sense. And he had this "Let's make Everton great again" cap on
Yeah,
when he
for
walked in. So it's all playing out.
Yeah.
So if you want to give us a call about anything, not just the takeover, anything whatsoever, the link is on Patreon. Just click the link on your phone or on your laptop or whatever, and just get through. Ned is over there, and he will sort it all out because that's basically his only role in life. No, Paige is just sitting there looking at like sorting out world peace.
She's got her head in her hands again.
You know what I mean? She's got real issues to sort. She's sorting out, like, how do we solve the climate change? You're sitting over there with your, fake degree. Pretending. I mean, your degree, basically, the science your degree talks about is the science they used in Jurassic Park.
Oh, I'm something of a scientist.
No one can hear you. You haven't got a microphone, so it doesn't really matter what you say. So get in touch with us. John, what have you made of all this takeover stuff so far?
I think the media have made a hell of a lot about of not very much fact, haven't they? It started my last couple of days in the States. I just asked Baz just now it was the Telegraph and who the journalist was, and that's Matt Law, I think you said, who's not really a friend of Everton, never has been, has he?
No.
But he was quite close to Chelsea, so I don't know how long his contacts go back, but if it goes back to the Kenyan days, which is a long time ago now, isn't it? Well, 13, 14 years ago or something. Maybe it's Kenyan who's talking to Matt Law and just telling him what's going on. And then I would ask myself, why would Kenyan do that? If you're in what you perceive that may be a competitive process to buy something, you want your opposition to know nothing.
Yeah.
So keep your mouth shut, right? If you're a bit concerned that it's not moving as quickly as you want it to move, or indeed that maybe one of the competitors is getting ahead of you, then you start trying to pull some strings, trying to put some pressure on the seller or what have you. And just look at the management thing, Pereira doing his train crash on Sky wasn't because he thought he had the job, was it?
No.
It was because
he knew he was losing it.
Because he knew he was losing it and he had nothing to lose. The other thing, if anybody does some research, is Kenyan, I need to be careful because I spoke to the BBC yesterday, I said Richard. Peter Kenyan, through his Opta, consulting firm that he's been working through, which is his own, I think. He's been involved in trying to do a lot of kickstart and shaking and moving. He's a rainmaker, really. He makes introductions because he's got some legacy contacts and all that good stuff. But very few of his stuff actually turns into happening. If you look at what it's claimed he did, he tried to buy Newcastle, and he did facilitate something for Wolverhampton Wanderers, but nothing else. So the team itself, that's there, from a naming point of view, the odd billionaire splattered around and a real estate guy, that's the stadium thing, isn't it? And Thornton, who's a big banker, or was, and then they've got personal relationships which people may not like. So I think it's got some distance to run. I was driving into here in the car, and I was thinking, when Mashiri bought the business, no one knew about it till it was done.
We spoke about this today.
So it's crystal clear, and Everton have a track record of, radio silence in these circumstances, and are very good at not leaking. So it's got to be leaked from the buying side, you would think, and then you second guess why would they leak it at all.
Well, let me just ask you a question then, because you've just been explaining this to us. So the team, head of teams, that's been bandied about. What does that mean?
Clearly, the way these journalists are using it is not the way I've used it in the past. To me, when I've put heads of terms together and we're talking about the big FO deals, it means I've say I'm the seller in this case, or let make me the buyer, you're the seller. It means that me and Baz have sat down, we've agreed the shape of the deal.
Yeah.
So I've basically said, hey Baz, let's pretend it's for the football club, right? Hey Baz, I'm happy to buy your business off you, or your shareholding in this business for 500 million quid. And you go, well, I'm happy to sell it to you for 500 million quid. Oh, good. We need a timetable for it.
Yeah.
We've now agreed the price. I need to check that what you've told me is right, because you've told me you're not going to get penalised by the Premier League. You've told me how much money's in the bank. You told me how much the stadium's got, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we'll put that into an agreement as being the basis of how we'll contract for this when I've checked that everything's fine.
Right.
Okay? And that'll be my due diligence.
Okay.
If that's the case, you say, okay, what do you want to know? I say, well, I want to see the contract with Langs. I want to see this. I want to see that. I want to see the other. Okay, terrific. Right, we'll do that. And you say, as the seller, listen, there's only so many businesses that, or potential buyers, that I can do due diligence with at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
Maybe it's as small as one. Okay? Therefore, you can't take forever over it.
Yeah.
Okay? So as the buyer, you've got until this date. I'll give you the information that you need. And if what I've said to you as the seller is true, then we're going to go and contract for it. We get 2 sets of lawyers, send them in a room, they write it all down. That's a heads of terms. We don't argue about the price later because we've sort of already agreed it. Now, if I'm the guy who's buying and I see in due diligence that what you told me wasn't strictly true, then I might want to lower the price.
Yeah.
But the seller can't increase the price because he's already agreed it.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, as you would say, I hope, that's inconsistent with saying this is early days in the deal making. It might be early days in the cycle, like it could take a month or two.
Yeah.
But not early days in the actual
In the deal.
the principle of the deal. And if that's the case, then Farhad Moshiri has already, if there's heads of terms in place, Farhad Moshiri has already agreed to sell it to whoever he's got the heads of terms with. Or the document in question isn't a heads of terms at all. It could just be terms of engagement, what we're going to do over a short period of time. It may be that I want to, if I'm the buyer, I want to look at everything and then I'll decide how much I'm going to pay you, and so on. But I wouldn't call that a heads of terms.
Because we've had heads of terms and we've also had they've signed an exclusivity.
That's what I was going to say. They feel that feels like a contradictory.
It does. I mean, an exclusivity thing. You could have that inside the heads of terms, and you won't try and sell it to somebody else until I've finished due diligence. If I'm the buyer, for example, and I decide whether to take the deal or not, that we've already agreed. You would assume if you've got a heads of terms and you've got an exclusivity agreement, you'd have a non-disclosure agreement as well. So why the heck is somebody speaking to a journalist or journalists and giving them some insight about what the deal looks like? This 10% thing, why would Farhad want 10%, But if you try and unravel it all and say, pretend it never happened, pretend this just never happened, and we were just having a very generic conversation of, hey, John or Baz or Penn, whatever, do you think Everton might get sold by Moshiri? Then we'd be talking about rumours which have been going on ever since planning was approved, that there's a number of predominantly American-based companies or contacts, if you like, who want to buy Everton, right? And this one isn't the only one that's got an ex-chief exec of a Premier League club involved,
Right.
So there are others out there, and then we'd say, well, what's Farhad's mindset? And Farhad's mindset until this allegedly kicked off was he wasn't interested in selling, or he wasn't interested in selling control.
He wanted to
he was certainly interested in selling some of his shareholding, and let's be honest, that was going to go to Usmanov, wasn't it? Right?
Yeah.
And so he presumably already had the shape of an arrangement for Usmanov, and he could just say, well, just change the name, change it from Alicia Usmanov to Barry Cass. There you go, and you hand over X millions, and you've got 30 or 40% of Everton Football Club. So presumably, that's how we get where we are. If I'm a salesman, which I spent a long time being one, and I want to get to see Farhad Moshiri to propose buying his business off him, he's consistently saying no. And the other guys, I think, who I'm aware of, they were still getting told no. Yeah. Right. So perhaps they've been a bit cuter the one led by Kenyon, and said, no, we're interested in investing in the stadium. Look, in our team is a real estate guy. We're interested in buying into a business, not controlling it, but buying into it, because we think we can exploit your brand spanking new stadium to increase shareholder value, and we'll benefit from that. You know, okay, then come see me to talk about that bit. Yeah, and then when you're in the room, you say, by the way, of course, we would be interested in buying all of it. Really? How much would you be interested in paying? Oh, X. Oh, X might be interesting. And so you can see there's germs of truth in this. But crikey, you know, I could have wrote that story a year ago, never mind 6 or 7 days ago. But it's just when it gets some traction at a quiet period in football sporting terms, and it rolls on the back of so much glue for the media to talk about, isn't it? You know, is anyone still talking about Burnley going to try and sue our ass? Yeah. You know, is anyone still talking about the Premier League? You know, might be penalising us, and change of ownership. It's just, you know, and all of that is just an accumulation of being poorly run for so long. You know, all these things come together, and then Farhad not being at games and stuff like that just makes it feel like his interest is waning a little bit. And whilst the letter that went to fans from Farhad had someone else's prose written all over it, you'd like to think, as he knew it was going out with his name on the bottom, that he read it first, and he's going to look pretty disingenuous if he was saying those things a week or so ago, and he must have already been talking to people about potentially selling some, if not all, of the football club. And his commitment was to making sure the stadium happened, wasn't it, really? So, I mean, so that has to be part of whatever deal.
We do know that there's 4 or 5 groups who are, and I've been interested for a while. So I guess, like you said before, this isn't really, it's not new. It's just how far along it's gone. And when people say heads of terms are signed and exclusivity, but it's also early days, there is a contradiction.
They are contradictory, absolutely.
So, you know, and there's Middle Eastern interest. There's other American interests, so you do wonder who's driving that and who is, and is it to tease other people in?
Well, I'm not sure about whether it's teasing, but sometimes these things get a mind of their own. You know, I've done deals where I've got a heads of agreement in place, and I know, subject to certain conditions, I'm going to get what I want. And yet I would have my competition contacting me saying, there's 5 of us in this race and we think you're 4 or 5 of 5. And I'm sitting there going, I'm number 1 according to this. You know, and that was with some, you know, really large companies as my competitors. You know, people like Capgemini, Accenture, those sorts of guys. And some of those people, when they lost that the deal my company won, didn't know until the statement was made to the city. So you keep your powder dry, especially if you're in the lead. You keep your powder dry.
When Mashiri bought us, we'd had the 2 fellas from Sporting Kansas City over, and then we had the other 2. Pedri, remember? We had the other 2 American guys, one with the cap on.
That's right. Yeah.
They're in the box seat there buying it. Next day, Farhad Mashiri's bought Everton Football Club. So.
The other thing which is good, if we give credence to some of what's going on, and also give some confidence about the competence of some of the people on our side of the fence, is if you're talking to company A about selling a partial or complete shareholding, and company B are gobbing off to the media, let them gob off. No one's looking for company A or company B.
All the spotlights there,
And so there's a whole host of, you know, and Farhad, we know, can be impulsive. You know, we look at some of the management type decisions, and he might just decide one day, you know what, I will sell it. First one to come up with the money, it's yours, which would be a horrible route, because we need to understand how the buyers are going to fund it. We don't want a leverage deal for obvious reasons. We want surety about the stadium actually getting built, and so on. But some of these guys, like Thornton, they are hard-nosed businessmen. You know, you don't get to be a chief exec at a significant bank, HSBC or you know, Goldman, or, you know, I dealt with Goldman Sachs in the UK, and numpties don't end up, right? But he's been in the brutal end of those businesses, you know, which is about delivering outcomes. So certainly, if that consortium or a similar consortium behaviourally took control, then our football club would dramatically change. It would dramatically change.
Could that be a positive?
Oh, well, yeah, because the only way is up, isn't it? If you talk about how we're operated and run without personalising it, just generally, because we don't know whether people who run the place day to day are inhibited by the behaviour of the owner and all that sort of stuff. But the way we're run, there's plenty of room for improvement.
Yeah.
Huge amount of room for improvement.
Yeah. Fair enough.
What would they have to gain out of it though, if it wasn't a serious bid? Those names.
What do you mean? What would they have to gain? I'm
no,
not saying it's not serious.
No. I'm just saying, like, to go public, is that you? Why would you go public?
To hurry them up.
Is that what? You,
I can't think of another reason to hurry them up, because you just said flushing people out. Suddenly, some very, very wealthy person in the Middle East or the Far East or wherever they might be go, whoa, hang on a minute. So that Premier League club just got sold for £4.5 billion, and I can buy this one for 500. I can do a lot with 4 billion to make this one as good as that one. You know what I mean? So and Chelsea's sale price reset the market, because the people who bought Chelsea through any objective valuation process, Markham's spreadsheet, you think, or whatever, paid way too much. And yet there are analysts in North America saying that $4.5 billion is going to look really cute in 3 or 4 years' time, when actually Chelsea will be worth $10 billion. Because, analysts are projecting the Premier League football clubs are going to become worth more and more and more. Yeah. And if you've bought the cheapest house in the street, then you're going to make the most profit. So actually, Everton is a very, very viable and attractive proposition for so many reasons. And perversely, perhaps the most objective reason for buying Everton is pretty much everyone out there will think they can run it better, because they can't visualise it being run worse, can they?
And obviously, do you think the stadium's attractive as well?
Yeah. In. I mean, anyone talking about this, and that will have included you guys, I'm sure, if you went through your archive stuff, you'll have talked about, as soon as planning approval is granted, this club is going to be worth more. As soon as this starts getting built, it's going to be worth more. As soon as it's nearly finished, it's going to be worth more. As soon as it's open, it's going to be worth more, simply because you've got that beautiful thing on the banks of the Royal Blue Mersey. Now, that sort of big shiny toy, and no disrespect to the cultures, that would really appeal to a Middle Eastern type culture of wanting to have pride in things that you're involved in, and if you go all the way back to Mansour thinking shitty ground called Goodison versus brand spanking new thing called now the Etihad Stadium, and I'm going to pay the same for both these clubs, I'll have the one with the shiny new stadium, please. Newcastle went for what, 350, 400 million? Do we think we're worth more than that? With a brand spanking new stadium on the banks of the Royal Blue Mersey, we must be, mustn't we? So, it's an attractive proposition. And therefore, I guess the answer to your question is, if it truly is that attractive, because I'm biased, then the guys who think they're in the lead, they don't want suddenly this one-horse race to become a 2 or 3. Because if nothing else, the price goes up. It has to. I'll take your 50 and I'll raise you another 10. Oh, bugger. That was 10 I didn't want to spend. You know? So, it's interesting. That's the art of negotiation, man. And if under the covers, Farhad actually has got something in him that says, you know what, I'm not sure I even want to sell in the first place, then he can play who blinks first. Because if he doesn't have to sell, for example, and he knows that day by day the value is going to potentially increase, then he might just say, well, I'll wait and see. You guys come back in 6 months. When the stadium will be 6 months closer to finished, we won't have been sued or successfully sued by Burnley, we won't have been penalised by the Premier League, whatever. So all the things you'd have on your list that allows you to try and knock the price down will have gone.
Interesting.
We hope. But I've not read anything that Burnley is still suing us.
Well, they've sued the Premier League. We're not nearly to do with Everton.
Well,
Everton have got
if they want to sue the Premier League, let them,
because we agree, the Premier League have agreed stuff and Everton have said everything's fine. It's the Premier League who've made the error. That's what they're saying.
And people just need to recognise that for all their faults, the open book behaviour with the Premier League by the incumbent management team was the right thing to do.
Yeah. Do you think those four bids, the other four bids,
if there are four,
do you think they're historic ones, like you mentioned before? The media like saving stuff up, don't they? Sometimes it's always the right time to put a story out. Now those four bids might have been over the last 2-3 years for all we know, mightn't they?
Yeah,
and they've just decided to put them out as, there's four other suitors, because I did see something, the ESC actually did tweet something before saying the Saudi bid was some time ago, and they're not looking like they're going to come back.
Yeah, my view, like if we'd had this chat before I went away, just as a theoretical thing, I'd have said that there's 2 or 3 consortiums or consortia, whatever, who are actively interested in trying to get to speak to Farhad with a view to try and buy a controlling interest. And I know that because I've spoke to them. The 4 or 5 or more, I've no idea who the others might be, and I've no idea whether the 2 or 3 I know about are inside those 3, 4, 5, right? But as soon as a flag goes up that says a Premier League club that historically has been the best of the rest and has pretty much unlimited potential based on how poorly it's been run in recent years, then you would expect a lot of interest. And that the stadium thing is a game changer from that point of view. But time will tell.
It's interesting, isn't it? Well, let me ask you this, because we were asked this today, and obviously we didn't know, and I don't know whether you'll know. But just putting the takeover talk to one side for a minute, we've obviously got a situation where we've got to improve our squad.
Yeah.
You know, we've just stayed up second to last game.
Yeah.
We've got a new manager who will want to start turning the squad around, but we also know that we haven't really got any money to spend, only because of where we are with P&L stuff.
Sure.
I think we all accept that we'd probably have to sell someone to bring people in, or that certainly seems that way, doesn't it? Without knowing fully.
Yeah.
But if this takeover is truly happening, are we still like, how do we go about still strengthening the squad if we're about to change hands? You know what I mean? But is it? Do you think things can still carry on as normal for the other side of the football club? I think is what I'm trying to say.
Short answer is yes.
Yeah.
Do you ever go to McDonald's?
Yeah. Well, not really. Not normally when you take me, but yeah.
Yeah, right, as if, right?
Yeah.
But that's a franchise, isn't it? And you've no idea who owns that particular branch, and it could change ownership, and you'd never notice. Well, business as usual should carry on.
Yeah. Okay.
So, now knowing past behaviours amongst the leadership in our football club, I don't know whether they have the capacity to be doing these other things on the side, like satisfying questions and all the things that come from a potential sale process, and carry on with business as usual. But certainly from the director of football downwards, in other words, the footballing side, this doesn't touch them at all. You can imagine the finance director, Grant Ingles, getting lots of dialogue and questions from people who want to buy, if that's what's happening, well, what about this, what about that, what about the other? So his day job could be disrupted, and therefore potentially the chief exec's day job is disrupted. Because you could argue their day job is focusing on trying to get the best price for it. Maybe not, because it's not their job to make sure Farhad makes a profit or not. But the footballing side should just carry on, and therefore the restrictions we were under shouldn't change.
Nice. Okay.
Now it's different if we print new shares, and therefore we end up with a cash injection into the business at the same time. But that would just make our circumstances better. It won't make them worse, will it? So we just have to assume that they, the decision makers in the club, are getting on with their day job, which is fundamentally to get ready for the next season.
Okay. Just so we were asked it, and I mean that's kind of what we said. We imagine that.
Someone asked me on Twitter, would FFP, and I think the person knows it's not really FFP, it's
it's P&S
and stuff. But would they get suspended because we've changed ownership? Absolutely not. No. These people, if they're trying to buy the club, are buying a going concern. Yeah. And business as usual should be ongoing.
Is there any way, I think I know the answer anyway, but is there any way it can be improved by changing hands. I get it's not going to be. I've seen someone saying to me, will it be reset now? And it's like, no, everything's still the same. But is there any way, I think maybe what you just said, they're diluting more shares. Are they able to do that?
If the football,
help the football club?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not anarchish enough to have read the details of what goes on, particularly around profit and sustainability, but they're reasonably flexible. So I think is the answer to your question, I guess. If someone bought the football club and Farhad walked off into the sunset having lost a few pence or made a few pence or whatever, and they said, you know what, we need a kickstart, we need to energise this business, in other words, we need some internal investment, we're going to print another 50,000 shares, 100,000 shares or whatever, which we're going to take, and in other words, dilute our own ownership. But that'll give us a £50 million cash injection. Is that okay? I'm pretty damn sure the Premier League said, yeah, sure. Yeah.
So
now they may say, but you need to do that to keep yourself compliant with the rules.
Compliance, anyway.
Not rather than stay borderline compliant and spend another 50 million, because you've got the other shareholders, which are the other 19 members of the Premier League, saying, "No, hang on a minute, we're not having a bit of smoke and mirrors here." Yeah. But they may put cash in, you know. And you look at what Newcastle are doing, you know. They're doing it. They're spending money. You know, and they'll go up against the buffers eventually, if not already. Yeah. But of course, the advantage they have is their day of judgment is a year or two away. Yeah, because Ashley ran it quite tightly, you know. But
so the long and short of it is we've got to be run better, haven't we?
Yeah,
really.
Always. Commercial performance is atrocious. Has been for a long time. Now that doesn't mean to say we're an easy sell. That just means my opinion is we should have done a lot better. Even with the deck of cards that we had, we should have done better. So much appears to be last minute, you know. You know, you look at Kazoo. I mean, if you listen to Kazoo, they decided to walk away. If you listen to Everton, they terminated the agreement. So you always get that, both sides of a transaction. You've seen it on players, haven't you?
Yeah, of course.
You know, Watford tell everybody we paid 50 million for Richarlison. We tell everybody no, we didn't, and the truth is somewhere in between. So, but we can certainly be better run.
Well, the thing with
always, I think doesn't matter what you are, you can always be better run.
Watford is, and Stuart Duxbury, their chairman, that's kind of come out and admitted it was 40 million. So they get a 10% sell on of anything over 40 million. And that's where the 50 million that they tried to bump up. When we all know we paid 32 million for
I was going to say we paid less than that.
Yeah, we paid 32 million and it was rising to 40. It was the tops it could have been. And we'd have had to get in Champions League between ever. So we'll have ended up paying probably 38 million for it.
Yeah, it was 30 plus add-ons. Yeah.
And so if we get, you know, they'll get that. But you're right,
Pickford was 20.
It happens all the time.
Pickford was 20.
But it's sold as 29 or whatever.
Yeah, again, it must have been 20 plus add-ons.
Plus, yeah. So
but you always get that.
And a lot of players don't even make the add-ons anyway because it doesn't happen. What you're asking for doesn't actually happen.
I mean, the add-ons when we sold Lukaku to Manchester United, and of course, typical Everton, it coincided with them falling off a cliff. But that could have taken that over 100. So we've done our bit from a negotiating point of view by talking it up and stuff, but then it's all
they
down
decided
to,
not to win leagues and stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
selfish, very selfish. Bill says, howdy lads. So
I've not spoke to Bill for
ages. It's worse. Billionaire is worse. Roulette time. So which billionaire is worse? Roulette time. Every billionaire has issues. It's how they become a billionaire. The fact Kenyan is involved in the American one does give me hope, as he actually knows how to run a football club. Also heard murmurings of Saudis being involved too. That's one.
So we don't know who's buying it.
No.
Do we? We know who are on the team. Let's call that the bid team. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So,
but they're not necessarily the people who are
actually going to own it.
There must be an entity that's going to get created, if it's not created already, that is going to have shareholders, and maybe those guys are the shareholders, but maybe not.
Could be Elon Musk, for all we know.
Yeah. I mean, people taking credence from Kenyan, you know. He's not run a Premier League club for 13 years.
But at least he's run one.
But he has run one 13 years ago.
Well, he run two of the biggest in the world, so... didn't he? Well, he did. I mean, that's
he
just
wasn't
a
great
fact.
at Man United.
No, but he still ran them
13 years ago.
Is Manchester United running the biggest football club in the world to running Everton right now?
Well, he's not going to run Everton, is he?
No, but he's talking about being hands-on at the start.
That's the point. He's there, and that's why Kieran Maguire was right on the Beeb, right? He's a good front man because he can say, well, I did this, I did that, I did the other. He's a commercial guy. I mean, he earned his job, if you like, at Man United because he took orders, and he's a smart guy. I'm not devaluing him, but for every plus about he's run a Premier League club, there's but the last one was 13 years ago. So why hasn't he run any more since? Because advising people like this presumably is more lucrative.
Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you do that?
But as there's there's chief execs out there earning 2 or 3 million quid a year,
Bill also says we need to set a deadline for the Richarlison to be sold this month or he stays. 2 reasons: end of the financial year, and second, we need the cash to pursue key targets.
Well, is Richarlison going? Is he?
I mean, it seems that way, doesn't it?
Does it?
It seems that. Yeah, I think so.
What, based on journalists?
Well, there's just normally when there's as much noise around it, there is.
And the only thing for Richie, for me, is when that shit newspaper was talking bollocks, he straight away come out and said it's bollocks.
He did.
And then when this came out, he didn't say anything.
He hasn't said anything.
So,
and then he had the Spurs top on the other day, at the basketball. I mean, he knows what he's doing. He is.
He's very social media savvy.
Yeah, he is.
But that could be just as much as him taking the piss as actually saying,
"Oh, of course,
look at me, here I am."
Absolutely, it could.
Anyway, Ken Wright up against Levy. I'd back Bill as much as Levy.
And then say, well, it's got to get the money.
If the player says I want out, then that's really difficult.
You get what you can, don't you? And then you do the deal.
But it will go to the wire.
That's not what we need, though, is it? We need the money in.
Yeah.
Because we can't do anything until that.
But at least we've got those 2 years, haven't we? He's still got 2 years.
He's got 2 years, yeah. So we need.
We can play the game of, well, unless he's sold by this date, which is the last date we can replace him, if you will. Then he's staying. And then we don't say that to anyone who wants to buy him, like Tottenham. We tell that to Richie to tell to his agent.
Yeah, because
make Richie and his agent do all the hard
yards.
They
do the work, yeah.
We're not selling you for less than X, and it needs to be done by this date. Beyond that, we'll uphold that promise we made you whenever we made it. That says if you ever want to leave, won't stand in your way type thing.
Bazunu was signed for Southampton apparently for 12 million quid. Manchester City goalie. Georgie's not happy, but at the end of the day, we were never going to get him because
who?
Gavin Bazunu, Manchester. He's the Irish keeper, but he's Manchester. He's like third choice. He's only young, very good. And Everton were interested in him, but we ain't got 12 million.
No, not on a second or third choice goalie. Yeah.
If Pickford's going, then you'd sell Pickford for 30 and buy him for 12 and go happy days, off we go again. But right now, we ain't doing them deals. Gray Lee said, am I right in thinking Piv said and Everton's analytics and scouting departments are actually pretty decent? Maybe it's the fact they're now getting listened to by Thelwell that we're after a few similar players that Benitez rejected last season, like some Matheus Nunes. He's been linked again today, hasn't he?
I don't know if Andy says then it's true, isn't it?
Well, if Andy works in that environment,
it's a valued opinion. So
yeah. So maybe. Well, we'll see.
He knows better than we do.
Exactly. So we'll see. We'll see by. I mean, it's difficult because obviously it'd be lovely if we had the pot of money we could just spend now. It'd be interesting to see what kind of deals we'd already be doing now, because obviously Kevin Thelwell's first transfer in the Frank Lampard's proper from when he came in was announced on transfer deadline day Lampard. So it's the first go at it. Yeah. It'd be really interesting, and again, it's timing, as it often is with Everton, isn't it? Yeah. It's that when they could be doing the good work, the hamstrung a little bit.
Back at training next week.
First of July, yeah. But it looks as though 2 weeks. Yeah. It looks as though Tarkovsky's done, doesn't it? That'll be announced imminently. So that's free transfer experience. Plays a lot of games normally. Such wood.
Like Gabamin, yeah.
God, yeah.
Gets injured pre-season out for a year.
You'd have to do that. You'd have to do that little tap. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But it'd be lovely if we could just get on with stuff and get people in.
Yeah. But that's where we need.
I mean, what Frank needs to do,
a sale,
to underpin all this is just extract more from the players we've already got.
No, well, we know that, but it isn't just there, is it? I honestly don't think. I think it's bigger than that. I really do. I think it's
the challenge.
Yeah, I think.
Well,
No,
yeah,
I think
it is, yeah.
when you go through, I mean, me and Ped we've been doing our review of the players.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, we're up to the attackers today.
Yeah.
But one thing, just by skating over all of it, is there's just no goals in this team. And when you go through midfield players and you're talking 3 goals is the top, and 3 goals was more than 3 other players. Do you know what I mean? Someone had 3, and that was more than 3 other players in that midfield. And you're looking at teams who are, people like Jared Bowen. I know he's a wide player, but he's getting like 15, and he's playing for West Ham. You know, and there's these teams that are, you need your midfield. Everton's midfield all needs to be getting half a dozen each. We need to spread these goals around. There's just none. And so then you start going, well, they're looking, you know, there's rumours Dom's going, there's rumours Richie's going. Next minute, you're looking at a team with no goals in.
Yeah.
So, yes, you're right. He's got to improve what he's got.
So who are you counting as midfield then?
In midfield, well,
Townsend, Gray.
No, Gray's in the winger. Townsend was in the midfield, but Gray's in with the wingers.
So he was the top scorer
He's
in
the
the
top
midfield.
scorer in midfield,
Townsend.
and then you've got Decore. But then after that, Andre Gomez got 1 goal.
Yeah.
He's got 1 goal, 2 goals for Everton or something. His
It was a
career,
waste of space,
or
though,
1
isn't it?
goal. But that's what we say. Fabian Delph, no goals.
Yeah,
Actually, Andre Gomez didn't score. He scored a Hull, didn't he? He was the only one. So Delph, Gomez, no goals.
But no, you're right. Midfield players have to produce.
Allen, no goals. So there's 3 midfielders. None of them scored a single goal.
Yeah, yeah.
Tom Davis got 1 goal. So there's 4 midfield players with 1 goal.
But I'd say Townsend and Gray in midfield.
Yeah, but Gray plays up, so he's not.
But
really
then but that then makes your point that your only 2 real attackers are both potentially going to be sold.
So you're looking and going, well, who else can he make better? So you have to bring. He's absolutely, he's got to make people better, but also he's got to bring fresh blood in, and we need athletic players as well, so that we.
I don't dispute any of that.
Yeah, I'm saying that's the thing, and that's why we're talking about the sale, isn't it? If we can. And we don't want to sell. I don't really want to sell the Charles. I don't want to sell Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but I accept that one of them 2 may have to go.
So what's happening to
because the
DCL
other one
then?
was Pickford, wasn't it? But
Yeah.
that market seems to have dropped away for Jordan Pickford.
Jordan, I think, was just people 1-on-1. If they get relegated, he'll want to be in the Premier League. Maybe, I don't know.
I think Conte does like him, but then Larissa just signed a new deal, so they're not gonna. Are they gonna come and pay what we Jordan Pickford would be worth 40 million for us because he's England's best, and we saw last night why he's comfortably England. Well, he's comfortably England's best goalkeeper, and he's got 3 or 4 years left on the deal and all of that. So we ain't selling them for less than 40 million quid, you know. So there's no market for him. So when you then go down the next players with a market in Everton's team,
Even clubs with the money, he wouldn't want to go there, would he?
no, well that's it. Like Newcastle ain't going. They're not coming for him. He's not going there. And then all of the top 6 have all got goalies that they're not gonna replace right now anyway. So that market's gone for Jordan. And then after him, there's only really Richarlison and Dom, who you would say is saleable. Ben Godfrey maybe, but he didn't have a good season. So I can't see many people banging the door down for Ben Godfrey. So it is Dom or Richie if we're talking about one sale. You know, I know some people have said 2 sales, and you're going, could we sell both of them? You could reset the whole side, but you've got no guarantee who you're replacing them with. They're coming in and scoring goals.
You'd only do that if the manager is confident that the core, which he thinks are going to be the same as last season, he's going to get that mythical marginal gain out of them that makes all the difference. He's on about 5% improvements across the board, and you know, a 5%.
And he can bring in 2 replacements.
Yeah, a 5% improvement across the board would make sure that some of those midfield players who didn't even know where the goal was would get closer to what you said, simply because the team's playing with more confidence, it's winning games,
higher up the pitch,
all that
whatever.
sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But they're all risky things, you know. But the footballing-ology around this, I mean, from players and managers and the like, would be, they definitely need 3 or 4. Well, Redknapp, wasn't it? They definitely need 3 or 4 players. It's not going to happen.
Not unless we sell.
Or even if it sells, even if we sell, it's not, because the wages.
I honestly think Everton will bring in 5 new players this summer.
Quite possibly.
With Tarkovsky.
Yeah, quite possibly.
But we'll have to move people out as well.
Yeah, but also not players who are proven, unless they're aged, right? Simply because it's all well and good saying, you know, you sell Richie, say, for X, and that fuels the transfer fees, but you're replacing 1 wage with 5.
But we are also bringing back money from Delph, Sigurd.
Well, yeah, you've got to do the sums, you know, and
and you have done them when we've done it loosely.
Oh, when we've done it loosely,
So
we know roughly how the metric works. What we don't know is what the Premier League have said about the restrictions placed on us to avoid things like points, penalties, and things like that. So, If it was easy, anyone could do it, mate. Yeah.
I think that I think it'll be the transfer fees that'll be prohibitive right now. I think a sale loosens a lot of that up, because even just
It's the same money.
doing basic, well, yeah,
It's
but
the same
doing
money.
basic sums, there's 400 grand a week gone.
Okay,
next
so
week.
so who was the best, highest valued player who's gone in wage terms?
Wages.
Who was earning the most wages?
It'll be Sigurdsson.
6% on, say 100k, say.
Well, more, but yeah.
Let's say it's 100k. So that's 5 million a year was saved.
Mm.
So that's a 25 million pound transfer fee over 5 years.
Mm.
So we could go buy a player for 25 million quid, put him on a 5-year transfer fee, and you won't incur any
extra.
But then their wages on top of that. Yeah.
So
but if their
then-
wages are 50k a week because they're young and enthusiastic, Dom from a couple of years ago type thing,
Yeah.
then you pay your 25 million and you increment your cost base by 50k per week,
Per week, yeah.
which is
But then if you go, so we're
that's
just
2.5 million.
So
yeah.
we're just doing that, and then we say, and Delph's gone, and Delph was on 90
Tosun.
grand.
That's what I mean.
And then Tosun was on 80
Well,
grand.
stop.
So,
If he was on 90,
So,
that's
yeah.
a 50 million pound player instead.
Yeah.
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 But
Obviously you've got to have wages.
so you have to bet on what are you going to do. Are you going to bring in a small number of transfer expensive quality players, or a bigger number of players with potential? And okay, the easy answer is
Yeah,
a bit of both, right?
Yeah.
But scoring goals in the Premier League is not something you
No,
can
it's not
grow
potential, is
into,
it?
right? So we have to keep one of them.
Absolutely.
That means we have to keep one of them, and one of them needs to be told, come what may, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's the one who signed the most recent contract, I guess, which is DCL. He's got three at least 3 years left, hasn't he?
2, isn't it?
Isn't it? Aren't they both true?
Both 2.
Holgate and DCL did new contracts, didn't they? Long after Richie arrived. You'll have to check. It's on transfer market, isn't it? Right?
I think
but
it's 2.
you can't let both of them go.
No, I don't. It's just the goals. Because you can't guarantee. Striker, Liverpool are just paying 85 million quid for a striker that Brighton turned their nose up at last summer.
For
Because they weren't
25.
convinced for 25 million. Just weren't convinced by him.
That's
And
because-
okay, he's had his best season ever. Fair enough, and it happens. But can the kid repeat it? Can he do it?
Time will tell.
Bring it from Portugal and down. He'll be in a good side, creating a lot of chances, so he'll probably do okay. Brighton didn't think it was worth it. So when you're looking around for players and you're going, well,
How much did they pay for
it's
Jota?
hard. I think 40 million.
Yeah.
And he's another one who was good in the Premier League, but he wasn't amazing.
No,
then
and he's been far more prolific for them.
He's been fantastic
because the
for them.
chances they
Because of the
create
chances.
and so on.
But if we're looking around and going, I couldn't say I really want Everton to sign Brendan Johnson from Forest. I think he'd be fantastic. Everton very interested in him. It'd be fantastic signing, young, up and coming, what we're talking about. But I couldn't say that he'll come in and score as many goals as Richarlison. I couldn't. I could go, you know what, he's quick and he's bright and he gets in the right areas, he might do. But I couldn't guarantee it. And what if he comes in and gets 3? And we're losing a wide player that's got double figures every
Let's keep them
season.
both then.
Then we've got no real room, have we, to bring anything in?
And that's the
and we
conundrum.
can't. For me, we can't survive. We can't cope because the midfield is so poor. The midfield's terrible, and the midfield's already lost Sigurdsson, Delph, Gabaman.
3, none of them played
No.
last season, so 20.
So you're left with Alan, who struggles, injured, few injuries last season, and 31. Decore, yeah, no,
Great opportunity for Tom Davis.
no issue. Is he good enough?
We don't know, do we?
Don't know. And he's 24, and
Yeah.
he should be knowing if he's good enough. So, or 23. So, for me, we're still midfield players short, definitely. You look at the back, we've done this to death with the back. You can make a case for being able to play at the back. You've got enough defenders. Patterson will come in, I imagine, at right wing back. Assist last night for Scotland, done really well. Miko settled in really nicely. And Kunku's coming back, get him in the squad. He's a back up, if anything. He's left footed, he can play higher up. You can patch up. But do we want to patch up, or do we want to put stuff down and try to build? And I'm not talking build going, we should be fighting for Europe. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a structure for Lampard that he can
Building right
try
now, and most fans sadly would accept it, would be a solid middle table.
No, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely.
So
away from any trouble, but,
Yeah. So you hope that the people who are the footballing side of it know what they need. And I don't mean the typical old style manager's wish list of 4 or 5 new players every season type of thing, right? Because that's how we got in some of this mess in the first place. And it's a fire break time, isn't it? You know, you've got to have a fire break. Otherwise, we're always going to be on the cusp of problems. Right? Yeah. But we also, as fans, recognise that if we want to follow an analogy that says you buy a player and then you extract some value from them on the field and then you sell them for more than you paid for them, and that's the process, then, you know, somebody has to get sold to make that happen. You know? But that's your, I mean, that, and I don't know how far Moise Keane's money will go, for example.
Well, that's another one. That's another 26 million.
Yeah.
And if it comes in this summer, great. But I mean, maybe.
But it will, because it's contracted for, isn't it?
Well, no, it's next summer. He's got a 2-year option, so but they want to sell him. They want him out. I mean, Aston Villa want him, apparently.
Do they?
Apparently. Gerrard likes him and wants him. So we'll see.
He's the right kind of player for this league.
Yeah, well, so what do we do? Bring him back and go, actually, mate, you're our number 9.
Yeah.
And off we go.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
But he couldn't play. He couldn't replace Dom, and he doesn't do what Richie does. No. So if you're keeping Dom, if you were selling, the only way Moise Keane ever gets another chance, and I don't think he will, because I'm not convinced. The only way is that you sell Dominic Calvert-Lewin, because Richie can't play there. He's just not a number 9. Richie, he can play to 10 or playing wide, because he likes everything ahead of him. He doesn't really like his back to goal. And then you'd have Keane in the middle, and then you'd have another bright wide player. But I honestly think Dom's more likely to stay than Richie. And I think Dom's unique because I don't think there's anybody really like him. He's so when he's on his foot, his game, he's so dominant in the air.
Totally.
And he's a penalty box centre forward who will score goals. So therefore you have to make sure you get balls into the right areas for him, and he'll score goals. Carlo proved that. Get the ball in for him into the right areas. The lad got 20 odd goals. And we might have to keep doing it like that, you know what I mean? We might have to do that. So Sabero numero uno says Keane's physicals are shite, he can't play in the Premier League. No, he looks like he can, because he's a big guy, but he's lazy. He's lazy. It's Juventus have took
no interest
and gone, we'll give him another go. He's a Juve player, and they can't wait to get rid of him.
Yeah.
So let Juventus deal with the issue. We'll take the money and we'll move on from it. And if we do that, you're absolutely right. Then there's 20. Let's call it 25 for simple terms. 25 million back in the kitty a year earlier than Everton thought.
Goes a long way.
And that might go, as you've said to me lots of times, well, you can spread that many different ways. But I've got no issue whatsoever, and it's probably where I've changed as I've got older. I've got no issue now with getting a player and having them for 2 or 3 years and selling them off.
Well, that's
I've got
transient.
no issue anymore. You used to go, oh no, he's ours. He's ours. Now I'm like, well, if we sell him and we can buy 2 more that are better, make us better, then let's do it. And let's do. Leicester have done it.
The transient.
They've done it, haven't they?
Don't care.
Liverpool have done it. They've got players in. They've been fantastic. They've sold them. They've reinvested. They've sold them. They've reinvested, and now they win trophies. It can be done if you do it correctly.
We just need to find one we can sell for 150 million.
Well, that's it, isn't it? That's it. You've got to get people in at the right time, and we were. Don't forget, we were a yes away from having Luis Diaz a year ago. You know, James says yes to Porto, Luis Diaz signs for Everton, the deal's done. And then here's one who you probably could have turned around in 18 months and gone, well, actually, we're going to get...
Paid 20 odd for him and we're going to get 70 odd for him.
Exactly, he's one of them, and there isn't enough of that, isn't it? But do you just think Keane, Keane's Keane, isn't he? It's just...
Done.
He's done, isn't he?
Draw a line underneath it. Just try and get him out as quickly as we can. There's no point. He doesn't want to be here either, let's be honest.
That's the thing.
No.
He doesn't want to be here, so let's just draw a line and get some money for him. And
you'd have thought he'd have done better going back to Italy, though.
You think he got 5 goals in the end?
Yeah.
And they were a team like in the top 3 or 4, weren't they? I think so they were a team who had a lot of the ball. I know he scored a couple late on, but no, I'm disappointed because when we got him,
because he was getting racially abused and went back to it.
Yeah. So, see, when we got him, I was excited because I could see the potential and thought he'll get on the end of stuff.
Showreel was good.
And then you watch him. I'd seen him a few 90 minutes from him now and thought he looks quite good. And then he come and I just couldn't believe.
Some players lose their way.
Yeah, he probably just
a big fat contract.
Yeah, and then it's different. And this is a tough league. Let's be honest. But we'll see. Daniel says hypothetical, but if we get taken over, will Frank still be in a job? Or will they want a big name to take us forward?
that'll be up to the owners, just like it's been up to this owner for the last 5 or 6 years. But if they are robust businessmen, then they won't necessarily be as impulsive as the fantasy football person might be.
And I think if you're coming in right now, you should do a little bit of research on the football club, and you'd see that the fans are mostly behind Frank Lampard. You've got a good synergy.
I think
it's finished positive.
And
he's a big name, regardless.
Absolutely. Any new owner, their focus should be on getting the off-field stuff sorted out.
Yeah.
Making us commercially robust. So, hey, maybe they'll do a root and branch or strategic review of the organisation.
They could do with one of them, couldn't they?
I mean, what they should find is there's a whole host of operational costs that you can take out.
Is there?
Yeah, huge amount of cost. That cost creep's been going on for a number of years, in my view. And get the off-field sorted out. Make sure the command and control structure's understood, who the boss is and who has to listen to who.
Have you had that back yet?
Huh?
Have you had that back yet?
Which one?
The command control thing. The who answers to who?
No.
Okay. Fair enough.
Maybe they don't know, right? And run it properly. And that might mean there's places for people who are already there. It might not. Because actually, I think football clubs in general, maybe this one specifically because there's one dear to our hearts, they don't often do things the way proper businesses do. And when they are run properly, then we see the outcomes. They win things,
All the share.
And if they don't win things, your ambitions are set at the right level. I think the fan base, we got together, in your review of the season stuff, you talked about, you started off all divided and finished all together. I think it's critical that the fans stay together.
Absolutely.
And the personalisation just to a large degree needs to go out. We should, challenge and react to outcomes, and the rest looks after itself. If fans are complaining and we're all out on the streets saying these outcomes, i.e. the performances, just aren't good enough, then let the professionals, either through the ownership or within the club, deal with the problems that are causing the outcomes. But starting off a journey with, I want that person out, I want that person out, I want that person out, is fine, because some of those people have been around far too long. But that's not how you deal with it. That's not how you get the change in the outcomes. Because there's no straight line between, are they to blame personally for the fact that we can't defend, type of thing.
No, it's
no, but isn't there
and we've proven that you can throw tons of money at it.
No, I was just about to say, though, shouldn't there be a line somewhere that says, well, there should be someone saying why we can't afford better defenders then?
Yeah, absolutely.
That should be the line, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, people do analysis of the published accounts and things like that, but if you have a look at the controllable cost, if we take a simple view, and we've had these conversations many times, I think, where if the chief exec of the business is, say, Denise, and the chief exec of the playing side is the director of football, then there's going to be costs on this side, i.e. the footballing side, that Denise can't impact at all.
Nice, yeah.
She doesn't decide how much someone gets paid. She doesn't decide what the transfer fee is, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So you look at what costs has she got that she can control.
Right, yeah.
And what outcomes does she have to deliver that she can control. Okay? And then that's what you measure her on. Not on the whole picture, because there's some stuff outside her control. Right? The owner decides to appoint a manager or sack one or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you'd have two P&Ls. Right?
Yeah,
you'd have the statutory one, which everyone sees, and you'll have the one that she's accountable for and the one that Thelwell's accountable for. And you might have some debate on which numbers go in which P&L, and then you say to this guy, you manage that one, and you say to this lady, you manage that one. And if you don't deliver that number, you're sacked.
Yeah.
End of. If you don't deliver the outcome, you're sacked. End of. Yeah? And both parties then should argue about what their number is, or their targets are, about what's reasonable. Because if Thelwell's going to get the sack if we don't win the Premier League, then that's not quite fair, is it? So all targets have to be measurable and they have to be achievable. All the smart techniques, look that up on Google, whatever, right? But we don't have any visibility of any of that happening.
No.
None whatsoever. So what we've had over time is almost an intuitive perception that if times are going well, the leadership team, i.e. the people on the board, are happy to say that's because of them. And if times are going badly, the owner's interfering.
Yeah.
You can't have
like
it both
the
ways.
Sam Allardyce way of doing things,
Yeah,
doesn't
is,
it?
yes.
Yeah,
Big
and
Sam.
managers do that, absolutely.
Big
Managers,
Sam,
yeah, managers
when we
do
win,
it.
it was me, and when they lost,
Yeah,
it was
managers
them.
do it.
Honest.
It's human nature. I'm not criticising it as...
The
Yeah,
business has. I mean, we were talking about this the other day. The business has to start working better, doesn't it? Because
Yeah.
we were saying we were saying when we had Bill Kenwright, we were getting money off TV and nowhere else, and therefore that money had to work under David Moyes, and he did a good job of it. Farhad Moshiri comes in, and it's the same principle, but at the other end of the scale, it's like the money's all coming from him. I know money came from TV, but we're in a different world now. Money all comes from him, and the club's still not working hard, is it? So in both cases, the club Bill had nothing to give, and it was successful, which is weird. Moshiri comes in, has lots to give, and it doesn't work, and it's big. But for me, this is what we were the other day, is that in the middle there, the club is still not working hard
Absolutely.
to create money. It relied on the TV money because it had nothing else, and now it's relying on on Farhad Moshiri's money and not working hard. And it feels like a muscle that hasn't been used for years and years.
Well,
and the minute you try and move it, they feel a strain in the back because that's the club. Because
You're spot on.
it shouldn't be reliant on his money, should it? It should run for itself.
And that's what he said when he walked through the door. This
Yeah.
business needs to be self-sustaining, right? But you can look at, you see, if you look at the accounts, and there's loads of people who will do analysis and all that sort of stuff. But what you want is not objective. Sorry, you do, but it doesn't. It starts with the objective. What do the numbers say? What you need to do is you need to turn data, which is what this is, into insight.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is not what that's the number. Why is that the number? And I don't mean, well, that's the number because we spent X million on players. No. How did that number become what it is? And if you look at our account, you just look at number of employees, for example, right? In the last accounts compared to the accounts before, you see things like the number of people employed in the academy went down. We're not having players come through the academy.
Yeah.
So we've reduced the number of people in
Yeah,
the academy.
yeah.
Now, that could be because we had too many before, or it could be because we can't afford it no more, or a bit of both, whatever. But that could be perceived as a false economy, couldn't it? Right? And then we also see that marketing, for example, which might help your commercial sales process, also had a reduction in the number of people. Maybe that was because there was too many already, or maybe because you're cutting your cloth, right?
Yeah.
And then you look at management and administration, overhead, and the numbers stay the same. And I tweeted this last week, right? And my view was perhaps our priorities are wrong. Or maybe they've just allocated people to the wrong categories. But to me, in a business that is losing loads and loads of money, isn't promoting its own staff from a playing perspective through its academy, and isn't particularly good at selling commercial deals, therefore its marketing perhaps needs to be better. The idea that they're the two areas where you're cost cutting, and over here where there's 30 or 40 heads of department, you haven't reduced the numbers at all, that sounds what you try to avoid saying is Cozy FC. Yeah.
I didn't avoid saying it.
No, you didn't.
I'll easily say it.
Yeah, no. But that's why people will take that perception.
Yeah, but that's because
there's lots of people who are chiefs, in an environment which should be cutting costs as brutally as it can.
But isn't that like, because academies are dead easy to see what's going on. It's a conveyor belt. You produce a player at the end of it, and you either sell them for a decent little profit, or you put them into the first team. It's dead easy to see, isn't it? So therefore, what they've done in the last 2 years is they've streamlined the academy. They started getting rid of all people's mates who were, he's a scout and he's a scout and he's a scout, and Marcel Brands went in and went, no, we're not having this anymore in here, where we give you a jacket, we give you X amount of money, and you go and walk along Sunday League pitches. We're not having that. We're having a professional setup. It's gone on further now, clearly, by getting rid of David Unsworth and other people, and it looks like probably the under-23s it sounds like it's going to be maybe Paul Tate and Leighton Baines is going to be involved, and not as the coach. I'm saying they look like they're going to get roles, and that they're already there, so that's good.
So Paul's going to move up from a lower age.
I'm not saying that. So don't put. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, it sounds like they're gonna get maybe promoted to or get better roles within. So you're using existing people, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're not going, I'm bringing this fella and bringing that fella, or you're using people who are already there. Paul Tate's done a great job, so he deserves. I don't know what he's going to be. He might be the assistant under 23. I don't know. But you know what I mean. You're using people who are there who've done the job. Whereas in the other side, we've got a fella who's just been moved from one job because he wasn't very good at it, and he's been given another job. Oh, we are mate, go and have that. It's because we can't see how that is supposed to work, but the academy, it's very easy to see how it works.
I think the
players come out the end of it.
I think the academy is a good one because, and I did say perhaps because there was too many before.
Yeah.
And as you say, allow scope creep or cost creep to take place. Yeah, but Paul Tate's a good guy, right? Now maybe he's been banging his head against a brick wall for the last God knows how many years because he's been saying, I get these guys to the end of scholarships when they get pro contracts, which is what 18ish or whatever it is. I hand them over to the next guy along the conveyor belt, and none of them pop out the other end.
Yeah.
When I put them in, we all think these 5 guys, 1 or 2 of them are going to make it. Maybe that's the right ratio, I don't know. And when it gets to the end, all 5 of them are not here no more. So, but the other thing which makes sense in age groups is getting the coaches to follow the age, come along with them, because there's less disruption then, isn't there, for the 18-year-old when he's got the same guy. But we shouldn't have to take forever to appoint Leighton Baines if he's the answer. If he's the answer, just appoint him. Don't take weeks and months over it, because time waits for no man, does it? But my point was really about the optics on it.
Yeah.
We've got some of the finest real estate in our city in the Royal Albert Building, haven't we?
Yeah.
And I would imagine half or more of the staff in there should be in a call centre shed in Knowsley somewhere, because that's where people answer the phone and answer questions, and they're all sitting on.
Half of it's a bar.
Eh?
Half of it's a bar.
Oh, the coffee area, yeah. But you see what I mean? It's things like that which an external coming along will go, is that best use of our money? Having everybody truly happy working in the city centre when ultimately they should be in a shed in Knowsley somewhere.
What do you think they'll do with that then?
It's a good one because
I think it looks fantastic.
Isn't that half the thing? No. Isn't that half the thing, that it looks fantastic? You get out the lift, you look around and you're like, wow.
It is a wow, yeah.
You see all the museum pieces, you see the boardroom straight away as you walk out the lift. On the other side, you see, I've said this loads, if I had access to that, I could do a million things with that space. Everton could do a million things with that space that they're not doing. And then you look out the window and you're going to see the stadium. It's a wow. It's unbelievable. Everton should absolutely not do anything with that. But you're right.
It should be there, but use it better.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, we've walked around it. There's a TV editing area in it. It's smaller than that bit over there.
Yeah.
It's like you've got all this room for this other stuff, which is like, yeah, you
don't need it.
You could offset that somewhere, and then you've got for things that you do really need. You've got these little tiny spaces. It's like it doesn't quite make any sense, but the place itself's amazing, and the fact that the things they could do there are like the things we could do with that space if we were like, they've got a brilliant space there for like Q&As and stuff, which they could film or get players, and they've got the facilities are brilliant.
Drag the manager in there once a week and get his press conference done there.
I'm not being funny. If I was given some of that space to use for us, we could do some.
But that was a money no object refurbishment.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. Well, it is, and I understand what you're saying. It is a bit like, it is that sort of Google, social media kind of thing where when you go to these places with open plan offices and all that. It's very modern. It's very, it looks great when you walk in. It looks very professional. It'll impress people. I understand though that when the ground comes up, it'll just, oh look, there's the ground out the window. It'll look superb. But you are right. There's probably people in there who don't need to be in there.
What do you think of the?
A lot of the staff don't really, not that they don't want to be
it's a
there,
different
but
world
it's just,
now.
They're out the way.
We live in a different world now, don't we? When that was created in 2018, 19. The world's an absolutely completely different place now in terms of where people go to work.
Yeah,
I mean, because
the stuff they do. You actually think about it. Some of the stuff they do, they could just do it own.
To be fair, Liverpool are the same though, because when I was on the cabs, I was forever going to Liverpool's offices in town and taking people up to the ground and to Melwood, and now they've got to go all the way to Kirkby. So it's the same for them. You have a modern office in the city centre, which looks great.
That's a HQ thing.
But then what you should be actually doing is going. Well, you don't go to Finch Farm, so actually they should actually be making space at Finch Farm for people so they never have to go into town. But again, it's all different.
Because, some of the ticketing people
we can't solve any of that.
Some of the ticketing people are at Goodison, some of them at Royal Albert, so you're splitting teams up as well.
But then some of them will be based at the ground.
Yeah.
Won't he, once the ground gets built?
So
some of them will be, a lot of them will be based there.
There's going to be lots of offices at the new ground.
Do something with the live building.
Yeah.
I'd love to get access. We could do some brilliant stuff in there.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, we could.
It's a great Everton show.
We actually did a show live there once, and they shoved us in a little box room, and you wouldn't have had any clue where we were whatsoever. No, it was good because we went for a meeting, and we were like, "Can we bring our stuff? Because we've got a show that's going to be live." It was probably to the stadium. They were like, "Yeah," and we just ended up in a box room.
That room they put you, they allowed you to film the new kit. Was it the same room? It's like
next room.
Yeah, it was about 4 foot by 6 foot.
It was that room.
Yeah. He was like,
it was that room,
laying on the floor and everything. Yeah.
Anyway,
remember when we went there and we could see the away kit, and we could see the away kit, and there wasn't out, and we were like, we can see the away kit, and they were like, can we just go and do a video with it? And he was like, I'll go and check. And then when he went and checked, we just went and done a video on it.
He come back and went, just don't put it out.
Yeah.
He wore it the next day at Wigan, didn't he?
Yeah.
It was the like pink one.
All good fun. But anyway, somebody comes in outside is going to... You should be looking... Pennies look after pounds, all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Eugene says, and this must be on the news somewhere, Americans jet into London for Everton takeover talks with Farhad Moshiri. So, we'll see.
So not Kenyan then?
We'll see. But there was a lot of this with Chelsea, though, wasn't it? They're jetting in, they're doing this, they're doing that. It was a pantomime with Chelsea. It went on for months, didn't it?
If they were jetting into anywhere to see Farhad, surely they'd jet into Monaco.
Yeah, that's where you'd go, wouldn't you? You'd just fly to Monaco and go on his boat, wouldn't you? And after conversations, because there's less prying eyes on his boat in Monaco, isn't it? The amount of people that have gone there. So, just what's your gut feeling on the whole thing? Do you think this is just much ado about nothing, or can you actually see Everton changing hands?
You can push deals over the line with some of those behaviours, but ultimately it goes back to what we talked about an hour ago or something. If there truly is a proper heads of terms in place where the price has sort of been agreed, then it'll happen, won't it?
Have you got a gut feeling?
I don't know.
Not forget the gut feeling thing. Have you got a... Would you have a preference on... And this is dead hard because we don't know who it is. I'm putting you on the spot, but in terms of like Saudi Arabian takeover or an American takeover, would you be leaning?
I don't think the nationality matters. It's got to be the credentials.
Does wealth matter? Because I've seen a lot of, and let me clarify what I mean. Obviously it does, because you got to have some money. But I've seen a lot of people today going, well, I don't know whether these have got enough money to do what we want to do. And what I mean by that is obviously they've got to have money, because taking it, no good me taking Everton over and be able to do nothing with it. I could own it and be able to do nothing with it, but even if they said, this Peter Kenyon just brought this other fella and he's worth 200 billion and he wants to spend 100 billion at Everton, well, the rules don't allow that to happen anyway.
Not
so
really, no.
There's just got to be enough to make the club run properly, hasn't it, really?
There's a nice conundrum here that says you only need a billionaire owner in the current circumstances if you don't think you can run the business properly.
Yeah, kind of what we said.
But what we said was...
Keep going back on, can I have some more money?
What we said is that if you look at the Liverpool's model, you need the owner who can get you the best things, and then it's up to you to do what you want with the best things.
Absolutely.
He goes and gets Klopp for them. There you go. You've got your best manager. He gets Michael Edwards. He makes him the technical director. There you go. You've got the best. It's up to you now. Okay, I'll build you a big stand. You
better fill it.
You better fill it. You better make sure that it's all. You make lots of money for it. I'll build you another stand as well. I'll make sure the whole area.
They'll have business cases attached to them.
No, that's what I'm saying. No, but it's a case of not going. Here's money. Here's money. Here's money. That's what we want Moshiri. Here's money. What they've said is, we'll get you the best of everything. We'll build you a. Do you want a new their new training ground is unbelievable, like unbelievable. So he's gone, I'll build you a new training ground, right? There you go. Do something with it then. And they have done something with it.
But it goes back to the dialogue earlier on we had.
Manchester City
you sit down with your playing side and you say, I don't know, say us, you finish too low in the league, you finish wherever we ended up, 16th. You've got to be top 10 in this next season. And you're the director of football and I'm going to hold you accountable. And you go, whoa, I'll take that on. However, there's these things I need.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm okay with the manager, whatever.
Yeah.
I need one of these, I need one of them. And I don't mind selling these ones, but that still leaves me with a shortfall. Give me what I want.
And leave me alone.
And leave me to it, and I'll deliver you a top 10 finish. And you're the business guy on the other side thinking, I can give him that. But he better give me the top 10 finish.
Yeah.
And that's where Brendan Rodgers, if we could talk about Liverpool, that's where Brendan Rodgers failed for these. And that's why they went and got Klopp.
He didn't trust Michael Edwards, though. Remember,
that's what I'm saying. No, that's what I'm saying, isn't he?
Doesn't matter why. It's about the outcome.
Yeah, that's
no.
That's what I'm saying, isn't he?
He called him laptop.
He's saying, I'll give you everything. I'll go and get a new shirt. I'll go and get you new kits. I'll go and get you new. I'll get you money from them, and them. Here you go. Brendan. Got them 8th place or whatever he got them, didn't he? The season after they nearly won the league. And then he's gone, well, I've got, what choice have I got but to sack it? I'll give you everything. And I think that's what you're saying about being a billionaire. Is John Henry a billionaire? I don't know if he's a billionaire.
Yeah.
No, but I don't. What I mean
doesn't matter.
I don't know if he's a billionaire.
It's FSG who own it.
This new signing they've just made, the first one that breaks net spend and all that, doesn't it? This is the first time. And to be fair, for everyone going, oh, they love being the net spend. They've earned the right to go out and spend 75 million on a new player, Liverpool, haven't they, surely? Surely they have, haven't they? And yet, apart from Jack Grealish, Man City don't go out and spend 100 million quid every year. They go and spend clever. Haaland was only 51 million quid.
Who?
Haaland.
Yeah.
51 million pound he was.
Yeah.
I know all there's loads of add-ons, but there will be with every deal. No one, we don't sit round going, Liverpool, he's a billionaire and someone else is a billionaire. I don't know what his worth is. I know he's rich.
We've said it. We've said it. John just said it as well. And we all say the same thing. Is that it's great having the fella there. Oh, he's worth 100 billion, brilliant. But we want to be able to go, we bring this amount of money in and we can spend this amount of money and we keep going round. And if there's a time when we go, you know what, mate, we need an extra. Someone goes, yeah, I can give you that extra, and you can do it because it fits within the rules. That's football. Newcastle, this was trying to say on the overlap many times to these, particularly
ex-players,
the likes of Paul Scholes, who didn't seem to understand that Newcastle can't spend 700 million this season. It's like, yeah, mate, they've got money, but they'll come up short because
what is the
got
first,
to be the rules.
But what is the first thing Newcastle have done? Gone and got arguably the best director of football.
Well,
but I'm saying that's because they can't spend all that
exactly,
money. So arguably they've gone out and they've gone and got the best.
If Newcastle do it the correct way over 5 to 7 years, they'll give themselves
which is what Manchester City. It's what Manchester City did.
Do it over 5 to 7. They'll do it over 2 to 3.
They have to be lucky. They'll have to be lucky for things to go.
They will reference, or their owners will reference, the in-house deals that Manchester City benefit from every time they do one, like shirt sponsors, stadium.
So why don't
rights.
we do this then? Why don't we reference Manchester City every time we do something?
I'm sure we do.
Well, come we've never got to Manchester City's level then?
Because we haven't spent the amount of money they've spent.
But we should have done then, shouldn't we?
We could have done. We can't go round that loop again about... Farhad has spent on behalf of Everton Football Club until he started converting the debt to equity and stuff, enough money to have been far higher up the league than we are.
No,
we all know that.
That's undisputed. That's undisputed.
And this is Ped's point. That was, if they've learnt nothing, Newcastle, from what we did, it's get a proper director of football, give him the headroom to run it properly, recognise it's going to take you 2 or 3 years to get there, and not try and do it all in two or three transfer windows.
My point is, and it just goes back to the thing what Ped was saying before as well, that I'm really interested in who's got what wealth. I want Everton Football Club to be run correctly, whereas we do almost become self-sustainable. But if we do need that little kick every now and again, we've got the people who've got the money. That was always how football was. It was always that way, wasn't it? It was always, we can spend that, and every now and again your owner went, do we want him for that extra?
Put it this way,
whoever the next every year.
See, if I'm Farhad Mashiri, right, and if all he wants is the money, and I'm going to run away, which would be disappointing if that's what he does, right? Let's say he's almost trying to do what Bill thought he did, which was to hand it over to someone who's going to do it properly. Right? So part of his due diligence on who to sell to is, what are you going to do? How are you going to guarantee the stadium's going to happen? How are you going to make the playing side better? In other words, recognising that I agree that it can be run better, how are you going to run it better than I've been running it?
Yeah.
Okay? And that's free consultancy, if nothing else, because they're going to tell you, aren't they?
I think
and they should say, well, we'll bring in our own chief exec. We'll bring in our own finance director, and we'll bring in our own commercial director. We think you've already got the best that you could get, director of football, and that's the core of the business. Now, Farhad or whomever may say, and who is this chief exec you're bringing in? Because it won't be Kenyan, will it? Or who is this commercial guy you're going to bring in? You know, and those guys may say people we have worked with before. You know, and maybe the financing or the extracting of value from the stadium is why one of the consortium is a real estate guy, you know?
Well, I was just about to say, whoever buys the club next, they're going to benefit from the stadium.
Of course they are, yeah.
That's
what they're going to benefit from is the rising values of Premier League clubs. Because I think they will rise significantly. And Farhad needs to be careful that he doesn't sit down in 3 years' time thinking, crikey, look how much that thing's worth now.
I just want us to move forward, and let's hope that.
But the thing is, again, as fans, we need to be careful that we don't go crazy, because all those people who want Farhad out, or want Bill out, or want Denise out, or whatever, you know, you see it, and people say anyone's better than these. Well, that's not actually true in the real world. And at the moment, and I know you preambled whatever this segment was about, that I know it's a difficult question because we don't know. We don't know what these guys are going to do if they do get the football club.
We don't know what their intentions are. We don't know, and like Baz said before, we don't even know what truly the makeup is. Do we? We just have names. We just have names, I've been saying last couple of days. I would love, if someone's going to buy the club, I'd like someone who already owns a club in America. If it's that
would be better.
And then people keep on throwing the name Kenyan at me, going, well, he's run clubs. And it's like, well, hang on. No one actually said he's going to be the CEO. You said it before. He has fronted lots and lots of takeovers. There's nothing out there that says that he would be Everton CEO. He's 68 years of age. Is he really going to come and run Everton day to day? Has he got the energy that would take to run this football club because of what we've been doing the last few days? So at the moment, all we've got is 4 people's names. And like you said before, contradictory wording, exclusivity, head of terms, things that contradict each other. No, we don't actually know, do we? We're just speculating at the moment. So,
but they're flying in from America.
They're all flying in. They're flying in. They might already be here.
I flew in.
I bet it didn't.
Purely coincidental.
But the difference is, John, they know where their bags are.
That's true. Yeah.
He had 6 years at United.
Yeah.
As
commercial. He was commercial first.
Deputy chief executive first. Come from Umbro.
Yeah.
To Manchester United.
Commercial
he was the director and chief executive of Umbro. Went to United, done that for 6 years. Went to Chelsea, done that for 6 years. For 9. Hang on, what am I on here? 11 years because he left in 2000. No, I'm reading this wrong.
He's been gone
6 years at Chelsea. 2009 he left at the end of October. And then he's obviously done stuff with George Mendes.
Got into trouble with
third party ownership, yeah. And all of that.
Well, 13 years he's been making money.
Yeah, that's it. So he knows, listen, he's got the experience. Whether he's the right man, who knows?
Ask Man United fans about him as the chief exec, yeah.
Well, that's it. But if he's involved, he's involved.
Yeah.
So
Jose again, liked him.
And if you, Jose's done a bit of the piece on him. Said he's fantastic. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Do you see that thing from Jose? From
someone sent me the clip.
Yeah, I mean the clip's only a minute and a half long or something. What have you? But
hit that like button if you're watching. By the way, thank you.
The thing that resonated with me was he said it's different now. He basically says, in the good old days, the manager decided. Now these owners decide. Yeah.
Well, he's always.
He fell short of saying owners interfere too much, right? Yeah. And you just have to work around it.
Yeah.
And the questioning which was coming out of Hasselbank, for example, I think it was Jimmy, was just saying, well, is it because Klopp and Pep and perhaps others actually do get control like managers used to have. And they've earned the right, haven't they, for no one to challenge them. Yeah. And that's part of it.
Yeah.
Well, they should. If a club's run properly, then they should get control.
Well, that's what you do. You hold them accountable. And that's what our club needs, accountability. And it needs to engage with the fans. So,
oh God, absolutely.
You know, so if potential new owners want to do anything, get the fans on your side.
By coming on Toffee TV.
That's one way of achieving it. Yeah.
I think the thing is, just before we finish, is that if you are serious about the football club, you both just said it, we don't really know their intentions, do we? We just know apparently they want to buy the football club. Immerse yourself in it then and make it right. So immerse yourself in it by looking and going, look at the Lampard stuff and look at the way the fans and mobilise them fans again. Really go, you know what you did at the end of the season was unbelievable. We need that like regularly, we need it. But like you just said, John, then kind of go, right, you sort the football side out because we're going to get this spot on, this side spot on. Ped obviously says lots of times, there's loads of little things that the football club could do. Small wins that when you throw them all in that pot, it adds up to driving the football club forward. And it is little things like, we keep going on about safe standing and all, but we know we're getting that in Bramley-Moore, but make that bigger. For me, it's make the capacity bigger at Bramley-Moore. Don't dare go in on 52,888. It's bollocks. It'll be the 10th largest attendance in the Premier League.
Imagine you're the new owner and you want to get, and I've just said, get the fans on side, and the first thing you say is, we think the new stadium's going to be absolutely fantastic, but we think we want the capacity needs to be greater, so we've asked Dan Mees to look into getting another 5,000 or 6,000 seats in there. It doesn't matter whether it's possible or not. Everyone will, right, that's what we've been talking about for 5 years.
You do that, you get the commercial sides, like you make more money. And the football club, like you rightly said,
I think we do know what their intentions are if it's these guys who are flying in. It's to make money. And if we had this 5, 6, 7, 8, whenever years ago, we would say the same thing. If this guy, Mashiri, has only bought this club to make money, that's good, because for him to make money, we need to be successful.
Yeah. And that means that...
And the outcome the fans want is success on the pitch.
Because like you said on the BBC last night, we're not really a big enough club for leverage, are we? No. We don't commercially.
So where's their money coming from?
Where's the money? So they would have to, if we stripped it right back down and we were just
coming out the investment
a
funds,
baseline.
I guess. Yeah.
But what we'd be saying is, like you just said there, for them to actually make money, it'd mean Everton would have to do better than what they're doing.
Absolutely.
And that's what we all want.
Absolutely.
Isn't it? Let's leave it there.
Time will tell.
Time will tell. Thanks very much for joining us. Subscribe if you haven't. And it's going to roll, this, isn't it? It's going to roll. We're only getting bits and pieces all the time. And we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting anyway.
Fixtures tomorrow.
Thanks for all the calls, patrons.
Yeah, patrons. Well done for phoning in.
All the calls.
To be honest, loads of love for John. I mean, Jenny says John Blaine is a Jedi Master, so there you go.
What at?
There you go. But for patrons, John will be in tomorrow. We'll be doing a business with Blaine.
I was only driving by today.
Yeah, so on a drive by, just being too medically, even using the thing. We're going. See you later.
Take care.